Welcome, dear one. You've reached a precious moment in your day, the time to unwind, to let go, and to prepare for deep, restful sleep. As you lie in your bed, allow yourself to settle into comfort. Feel the weight of your body against the mattress, the softness of your pillow supporting you. Adjust yourself however you need until everything feels just right. Now, gently close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, feeling your chest rise as you fill your lungs. Hold it for a moment, then exhale softly through your mouth. Let's do this again. Breathe in deeply, and as you exhale, release any tension from your body. With every breath, feel yourself sinking a little deeper into relaxation. Picture yourself in a serene place as your day's worries fade away. You're standing at the edge of a quiet meadow at twilight. The sky above is painted in soft shades of lavender and gold, with the first stars beginning to twinkle. A gentle breeze brushes your skin, cool and soothing, carrying the faint scent of flowers and fresh earth. In this tranquil scene, you notice a path winding ahead. Each step you take along this path feels effortless, as if the ground itself is inviting you forward. The sounds of nature surround you, the rustling leaves, the soft chirp of crickets, and the distant murmur of a stream. Soon, you arrive at a small, cozy cottage tucked between the trees. A warm golden light spills from its windows, beckoning you inside. As you step through the door, you feel instantly at home. The space is simple but perfect, a crackling fire in the hearth, the scent of lavender and cedar in the air, and in the corner, a bed piled high with soft, inviting blankets. You move toward the bed and lie down. The mattress cradles you, the blankets wrapping you in warmth and safety. The sound of the fire crackling is like a gentle lullaby, coaxing you deeper into relaxation. As you rest in this peaceful place, let go of any lingering thoughts from the day. Imagine them drifting away like leaves carried by a gentle stream. Here, there is nothing to fix, nothing to do, just rest. Feel your breath becoming slower and steadier, your body heavier and more relaxed. With each moment, you drift closer to the soft, quiet embrace of sleep. Let yourself sink into this restful state, knowing that you are safe, loved, and completely at peace. Now, it's time to let go fully. Drift into dreams, into calm, and into the soothing stillness of the night. Good night, dear one. Sleep deeply and wake refreshed.
Chapter 1. Tom stepped off the plane and paused, letting the warm air of St. Thomas wrap around him like a comforting blanket. The faint scent of salt water and blooming flowers wafted on the gentle breeze, a promise of the weekend ahead. Melissa followed close behind, her face lighting up as she caught sight of the turquoise waters just beyond the airport. "Well, this is already perfect," she said, slipping her arm through his. Their driver, a jovial local named Frank, greeted them with a wide grin. "Welcome to paradise. Heading to the inn in Charlotte, Emily, right? It's the perfect time of year to visit. Christmas here is something special." The ride to the inn was peaceful. Tom and Melissa gazed out at the lush greenery and pastel-colored houses that dotted the hillsides. Strings of twinkling lights hung from balconies, and garlands adorned doorways, blending the island's tropical charm with the warmth of the holiday season. When they arrived at the historic inn, Clara, the innkeeper, greeted them with glasses of chilled sorrel punch. "This recipe's been passed down for generations," she said with a wink. "Just like this inn. It's been here since the 18th century, a place where travelers found rest and stories." Inside their room, Melissa ran her fingers along the wooden shutters and admired the vintage furnishings. A poinsettia arrangement sat on the bedside table, its deep red petals adding a festive touch. She opened the shutters to reveal a small balcony overlooking the town. Below, the cobblestone streets of Charlotte-Amalie bustled with life. "It's beautiful," Melissa said softly. "I can't imagine a better place to unwind." Tom leaned on the balcony rail beside her. "And just think, there's so much to explore. This weekend is going to be all about slowing down and soaking it in." After settling in, the couple wandered into town, the rhythm of their steps matching the laid-back atmosphere around them. The golden glow of gas lamps illuminated the streets, their bases wrapped with evergreen garlands and bows. The air buzzed softly with the hum of a distant steel pan band playing cheerful Christmas tunes. "Look at that," Melissa said, pointing to a vendor selling handmade ornaments shaped like sea turtles and starfish. "They're so delicate, like the ocean turned into Christmas decorations." Tom chuckled. "I think we've found this year's ornament." He purchased one, the vendor sharing the story behind its design. Sea turtles are a symbol of perseverance and journeying safely. A good reminder for the season. As they walked further, the aroma of grilled seafood and fresh spices drew them to a waterfront cafe. They chose a table with a view of the harbor, where boats bobbed gently in the moonlight. Twinkling Christmas lights lined the boardwalk, their reflections dancing on the water. "This is what I call dinner with a view," Tom said, unfolding his menu. Melissa smiled as she read hers. "And a menu to match. Fresh mahi-mahi for me. What about you?" The waiter, Daniel, arrived to take their order and chatted warmly about the island's Christmas traditions. "You'll have to catch the boat parade tomorrow night," he said. "The whole harbor lights up. People put their hearts into decorating the boats. It's like the stars themselves come to celebrate." Melissa's eyes sparkled. "Stars on the water. I can't wait to see that." Their meal was unhurried, the flavors of the island weaving themselves into the memory of their first night. As they finished their coconut tart dessert, Tom reached across the table to take Melissa's hand. "This is exactly what we needed," he said. "Time to just be together." The walk back to the inn was quiet, the town beginning to settle as the evening deepened. On their balcony, they sat together, watching the harbor glow faintly under the moon. The sound of waves lapping at the shore and the occasional laugh drifting from nearby streets filled the air. Melissa sighed contentedly. "It's funny how Christmas can feel so different yet so right here. No rushing, no stress, just beauty." Tom leaned back in his chair, gazing up at the stars. "It's a reminder, isn't it? Christmas is less about the rush and more about moments like this." With the ocean breeze brushing past them, they stayed there in silence for a while, letting the peace of the night settle in. Finally, Melissa whispered, "I think I'll sleep better tonight than I have in years." Tom smiled, his hand still in hers. "That's the magic of this place. Let's see what tomorrow brings." Chapter 2. The morning sun streamed through the shutters, bathing the room in soft golden light. Melissa stirred, stretching lazily under the crisp white sheets. The sound of distant waves and birdsong filtered in from the open balcony doors. Tom was already awake, sitting outside with a cup of coffee in hand. "Good morning," he said as she stepped out to join him. "I could get used to mornings like this." Melissa smiled, leaning on the railing. Below, the town was beginning to wake. Vendors were setting up their stalls in the square, and the smell of freshly baked bread wafted up from a nearby bakery. After a leisurely breakfast at the inn, fresh fruit, warm Johnny cakes, and strong local coffee, Melissa suggested they take a walking tour of the historic town. Clara, ever the helpful host, recommended they meet Elsie, a local historian known for her captivating stories about Charlotte Amalie. Elsie greeted them warmly at the steps of Fort Christian, her straw hat casting a shadow over her bright smile. "Welcome to the heart of St. Thomas," she said. "These streets have seen everything, from pirates to traders, freedom seekers to dreamers like yourselves. Let me show you their stories." As they wandered through the fort's cool stone halls, Elsie pointed out relics from the island's Danish colonial past. She spoke of the fort's transformation from a military stronghold to a courthouse and, later, a prison. "It stood the test of time, much like the people of this island," she said. From the fort, Elsie led them to the Emancipation Garden, a peaceful square shaded by towering trees. Melissa lingered by the bronze plaques, reading about the island's history of freedom and resilience. Tom, ever curious, asked Elsie about the significance of the space. This garden was where the abolition of slavery was proclaimed in 1848, Elsie explained. "It's a place of remembrance and renewal, especially during this season when we reflect on what matters most." Their next stop was the famous 99 Steps, a picturesque staircase leading up a steep hillside. The bricks, imported from Denmark centuries ago, were weathered but sturdy. "It's really 103 steps, Elsie said with a playful grin. "But who's counting?" As they climbed, Melissa ran her hand along the iron railings, marveling at the vibrant bougainvillea spilling over the walls. The view from the top was worth every step. The town stretched out below, a tapestry of pastel buildings and bustling streets framed by the sparkling Caribbean Sea. "It's incredible," Melissa said, catching her breath. "Like looking at a painting." Elsie nodded. "The beauty here isn't just in the sights, it's in the stories, the people, the way the past and present blend together." The tour ended in a tucked-away courtyard filled with the scent of blooming frangipani. Elsie recommended a nearby cafe for lunch, and Tom and Melissa thanked her warmly before settling into a shaded table. They ordered guava tarts and iced tamarind juice, savoring the quiet charm of the cafe. Melissa glanced at Tom as he flipped through the photos he'd taken during their tour. "Do you ever think about how many footsteps have walked these streets before us?" she asked. "All the time," Tom said. "It's like being part of something much bigger. And yet, here we are, adding our own little piece to the story." The afternoon passed leisurely as they wandered through the cobblestone alleys, stopping to admire handmade crafts and local art. At one shop, Melissa found a delicate bracelet made of polished coral and shells. The shopkeeper, an older woman with a warm smile, wrapped it carefully as she shared tales of her childhood Christmases on the island. "Back then, we didn't have much," she said, "but the ocean always gave us treasures, like this coral. Christmas is about what you make of it, not what you have." Melissa slipped the bracelet onto her wrist, touched by the woman's words. "It's perfect," she said softly. "A reminder to carry this place with me." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the town, Tom and Melissa returned to the harbor. The streets were alive with the hum of anticipation for the evening's Christmas market. Twinkling lights strung between the buildings illuminated the square, where stalls overflowed with handcrafted ornaments, colorful textiles, and holiday treats. Melissa couldn't resist sampling a slice of black cake. its rich rum-soaked flavor a perfect balance of sweet and spiced. Tom, meanwhile, gravitated toward a booth offering steaming cups of coquito. "You have to try this," he said, handing her a cup. "It's like Christmas in a glass." As they wandered through the market, the faint strains of calypso music grew louder. A small band had set up near the center of the square, their lively rhythms drawing a growing crowd. Tom and Melissa found a bench nearby and sat, letting the music and the festive energy of the town wash over them. "Today was perfect," Melissa said, leaning against Tom. "I feel like I've learned so much, not just about this place, but about the spirit of the season." Tom wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "And the best part? There's still so much more to discover." The sky deepened into twilight as the first stars began to appear. The market's lights shimmered like constellations, blending with the reflections in the water. Tom and Melissa lingered, savoring the peace of the moment before heading back to their inn. Later that night, as they lay in bed, the distant sound of waves and soft laughter from the square lulled them toward sleep. Melissa whispered, "If every day here is like this, I'll never want to leave." Tom chuckled softly. "Then let's make the most of it. Tomorrow's another chapter in our little Christmas story." Chapter 3. The morning brought a quiet calm, with the gentle rustle of palm fronds and the faint call of seabirds filtering through the open balcony doors. Melissa stretched languidly, her gaze wandering to the sunlight dappling the room's wooden shutters. Tom, already dressed, stood by the window, looking out toward the harbor. "It's going to be another beautiful day," he said, turning to her with a soft smile. "Are you ready for some Christmas magic?" Melissa grinned. "Always." After breakfast, they made their way to the town square, now transformed into a lively Christmas market. Strings of multicolored lights crisscrossed above the bustling stalls, and the air was filled with the aroma of spiced baked goods and roasted coffee beans. Vendors called out cheerfully, showcasing their wares, hand-carved wooden ornaments, vibrant woven baskets, and jewelry made from local shells and coral. Melissa stopped at a stall where a young girl was carefully arranging delicate ornaments shaped like starfish and angels. "These are beautiful," Melissa said, picking up a small sea turtle ornament painted in shimmering blues and greens. The girl's mother beamed. "That one's my daughter's design. She's been making them since she was 8. Tom held up the ornament for closer inspection. "It's perfect," he said, his tone thoughtful. "A reminder of journeys and safe travels. We'll take it." As the woman wrapped the ornament, she leaned in conspiratorially. "Be sure to hang it in a spot where it catches the light. It's said to bring warmth and good fortune." Melissa thanked her, tucking the wrapped package carefully into her bag. They wandered deeper into the market, pausing at a food stall where the vendor handed them small samples of rum cake. The dense, spiced treat was rich with the flavor of dark molasses and soaked in local rum. "This tastes like the holidays," Melissa said, savoring the bite. Tom chuckled. "I think we'll need a slice to go. Or maybe 2. The cheerful clinking of steel pan drums drew them toward the square center, where a small group of musicians played lively holiday tunes. A crowd had gathered, swaying gently to the rhythm, and a few children danced with carefree joy. Melissa found herself tapping her foot to the beat, her smile widening with each passing note. "It's amazing how music can bring everyone together," she said, watching the crowd. "No matter where you're from, it feels familiar." Tom nodded. "It's like the heartbeat of the season here. Warm and welcoming." As the morning drifted into afternoon, they made their way to a quieter corner of the market, where an older woman sat at a small table piled high with handmade dolls and miniature nativity scenes. Her hands moved deftly as she added delicate touches of paint to a wooden manger. "These are incredible," Tom said, admiring her craftsmanship. "Do you make them all yourself?" The woman looked up with a twinkle in her eye. Every last one. My grandmother taught me, and I've been making them for as long as I can remember. Melissa picked up a tiny figure of an angel with wings carved from driftwood. It feels like they carry a piece of this place with them, she said softly. The woman smiled. That's the idea. They're not just decorations, they're memories to take home. They purchased the angel, and the woman handed Melissa a small bundle of woven straw ornaments as a gift. For your tree, she said. Something to remind you of the island. Later, as the sun began its descent, Tom and Melissa found themselves back at the waterfront, where preparations for the evening's boat parade were in full swing. Colorful vessels lined the harbor, their decks strung with lights and festive decorations. One boat was adorned with a towering Christmas tree, while another featured a glowing replica of Santa riding a dolphin. Daniel, the waiter from the previous night, spotted them as they strolled by. You made it, he said, gesturing toward the water. It's going to be spectacular. Everyone pours their heart into this. Tom and Melissa found a spot along the harbor to sit, their legs dangling over the edge of the wooden dock. As the first boat began its procession, a cheer rose from the crowd. The vessel glided gracefully across the water, its lights twinkling like stars against the darkening sky. Melissa leaned her head against Tom's shoulder, a soft smile playing on her lips. It's magical, she whispered. Like the whole town came together to celebrate. Tom wrapped an arm around her, his gaze fixed on the glowing reflections dancing on the water. It's the spirit of the season, he said. It feels good to be part of it. The parade continued, each boat more creative than the last. One featured a whimsical display of reindeer and palm trees, while another had a nativity scene framed by seashells. The air was filled with laughter and applause as the crowd marveled at the craftsmanship and joy on display. As the final boat passed, its lights dimming into the distance, the crowd began to disperse, leaving the harbor quiet once more. Tom and Melissa lingered, the gentle lapping of the waves and the faint hum of steel pan music providing a soothing soundtrack to the evening. It feels like time slows down here, Melissa said, her voice low and thoughtful. Like we're allowed to just be. Tom nodded, squeezing her hand gently. That's the beauty of it. No rush, no distractions, just us and the moment. The walk back to the inn was peaceful, the twinkling lights of the market fading into the distance. Back in their room, Melissa carefully unwrapped the sea turtle ornament and placed it on the nightstand. A little piece of today, she said, her fingers brushing over its smooth surface. Tom smiled as he climbed into bed, the sound of waves lulling him toward sleep. Today was unforgettable, he murmured. And tomorrow? Tomorrow, we make more memories. Melissa smiled, her eyes drifting closed. I can't wait. Chapter 4. The morning came gently, with the soft light of dawn filtering through the curtains and the rhythmic call of seabirds announcing a new day. Melissa stirred first, the memory of the previous evening's boat parade still fresh in her mind. She stretched, savoring the quiet of the room, before slipping out to the balcony where Tom was already seated with a steaming cup of coffee. You're becoming an early bird, she teased, joining him. He smiled, handing her a second cup. It's hard to sleep in with a view like this. Besides, I wanted to plan our ferry ride to St. John. Melissa's eyes brightened. A day on the water sounds perfect. After a leisurely breakfast at the inn, Clara waved them off with well wishes and a small bundle of fresh pastries for the journey. You'll love St. John, she said. It's the kind of place that touches your soul. The ferry ride was smooth and serene, the turquoise water glinting in the sunlight. Melissa leaned on the railing, letting the warm breeze tousle her hair as she watched the shoreline of St. Thomas shrink into the distance. Around them, fellow passengers chatted quietly, the excitement of the trip palpable. When St. John came into view, it felt like they were arriving in another world. The lush hills rolled gently down to the sparkling harbor, where colorful boats bobbed in the calm waters. Cruz Bay greeted them with its charm, a quaint, vibrant town nestled between the sea and the greenery of Virgin Islands National Park. As they stepped off the ferry, they were met by their guide for the evening, Marlin, a tall man with a warm smile and an easy laugh. "You must be Tom and Melissa," he said, shaking their hands. "Welcome to paradise. I hear you're up for a little adventure tonight." Tom nodded, intrigued. "Clara said you'd show us something unforgettable." Marlin grinned. "She's not wrong. The bioluminescent bay is one of the island's best-kept secrets. But first, you've got a few hours to explore. Let me point you to some spots to get you in the island spirit." They spent the afternoon strolling through Cruz Bay, stopping at an open-air market where Melissa admired hand-woven baskets and delicate pottery painted with tropical flowers. Tom found a small gallery showcasing local artists, where a painting of a serene mangrove lagoon caught his eye. "We should bring this home," he said. "A reminder of this place." Melissa smiled. "I love that idea. It'll always take us back here." Lunch was a relaxed affair at a cafe overlooking the harbor. They shared a platter of fresh lobster, plantains, and tangy tamarind glazed ribs. Melissa sipped on a cool glass of hibiscus tea as they watched the gentle rhythm of life in the bay. As the sun dipped lower, casting the town in a golden glow, they met Marlin again near the edge of the mangroves. A small group of other adventurers had gathered, each equipped with a kayak. The water was still, reflecting the pastel hues of the evening sky. "Here's the plan," Marlin said. "We'll paddle through the mangroves and into the bay just as night falls. That's when the magic happens." Melissa and Tom climbed into a tandem kayak, their paddles slicing silently through the water as they followed Marlin into the mangroves. The air was alive with the soft rustling of leaves and the occasional chirp of crickets. As they emerged into the open bay, the last traces of sunlight faded, replaced by a canopy of stars. Then it happened. With each stroke of their paddles, the water came alive, glowing a soft, ethereal blue. Fish darted below the surface, their movements leaving shimmering trails of light. "It's like the ocean is full of stars," Melissa whispered, her voice filled with wonder. Marlin chuckled softly. "That's the bioluminescence. Tiny organisms called dinoflagellates create the light. It's their way of saying hello." Tom dipped his hand into the water, watching the glow swirl around his fingers. "It's incredible," he said, his tone reverent. "Like nothing I've ever seen." The group paused in the middle of the bay, letting the kayaks drift. Marlin shared stories about the bay's cultural significance, how the island's ancestors believed the glowing waters were a gift from the sea gods, a sign of prosperity and peace. Melissa leaned back slightly, letting the gentle rocking of the kayak soothe her. The quiet was profound, broken only by the faint rustle of the water and the distant hum of cicadas. She turned to Tom, her face lit with a serene smile. "This might be my favorite part of the trip so far." He reached over, squeezing her hand gently. "It's like the world slowed down just for us." The group lingered a while longer, each person lost in their own quiet thoughts, before slowly paddling back toward the mangroves. The glow of the water faded as they neared the shore, replaced by the soft lights of the town in the distance. As they stepped onto solid ground again, Marlin gave them a knowing smile. "Not bad for a night out, huh?" Melissa laughed. "Not bad at all. Thank you for sharing this with us. Back at the inn later that night, Melissa and Tom sat on the balcony, the memory of the glowing water still vivid in their minds. Every part of this trip has felt like a dream, Melissa said, gazing out at the harbor. Tom nodded. And the best kind of dream, one we get to live. They sat in comfortable silence, the sound of the waves below lulling them toward sleep. The soft glow of the sea turtle ornament on the nightstand caught the moonlight, a quiet reminder of the magic they'd found together. Chapter 5. The morning after their bioluminescent adventure, Tom and Melissa awoke to the gentle hum of life in St. John. The faint sound of waves breaking against the shore mixed with the calls of tropical birds outside their window. Melissa stretched lazily, a contented smile on her face as she turned toward Tom. Last night felt like a dream, she said. I keep thinking about the way the water glowed around us. Tom nodded, sitting up and gazing out the window toward the harbor. It's one of those memories that'll stick with us, like the stars falling into the ocean just for us. After a light breakfast of fresh papaya, Johnny cakes, and Strong Island coffee, the couple decided to spend the day exploring the quieter side of St. John. They wandered down to Cruise Bay, where a small craft market had sprung up along the waterfront. Melissa was drawn to a stall filled with colorful woven bags and baskets, each one carefully crafted by local artisans. These are beautiful, she said, running her fingers over the intricate patterns. Every piece tells a story. Tom admired a basket lined with soft fabric and stitched with seashell motifs. We should take one home, he said. Something to remind us of this trip every time we see it. As they continued through the market, the warm, sweet smell of pastries drew them to a stall where an older woman was selling fresh guava tarts. Her face lit up as she offered them a sample. A taste of the island, she said with pride. Melissa took a bite, her eyes widening. This is incredible, she said. It's like the fruit is still warm from the sun. Tom smiled, finishing his own sample. We'll take two, please. Their exploration led them to a small gallery tucked away from the main square. Inside, the walls were adorned with vibrant paintings and sculptures that captured the island's essence: lush green hills, crystal clear waters, and scenes of local life. A painting of a quiet beach at sunset caught Melissa's attention. This feels like us, she said softly, pointing to the canvas. Calm, peaceful, just being together. Tom didn't hesitate. Then we'll take it. Something to remind us of this exact moment. The gallery owner carefully wrapped the painting, thanking them warmly. You've chosen a special piece, she said. It captures the spirit of St. John, quiet beauty and endless possibility. By midday, the sun was high, and the couple made their way to a shaded beachside cafe for lunch. They chose a table under a large sea grape tree, its wide leaves casting dappled shadows on their plates. The menu featured fresh-caught snapper, grilled plantains, and a tangy cucumber salad, all accompanied by cool glasses of tamarind juice. As they ate, Melissa looked out at the turquoise water. It's hard to imagine anything more perfect than this, she said. Every moment here feels like a gift. Tom took her hand across the table. It's because we're letting ourselves slow down, he said. No rushing, no schedules, just being here. After lunch, they took a leisurely walk along the shoreline, their feet sinking into the warm, soft sand. The beach was quiet, the sound of the waves a soothing backdrop to their conversation. Do you ever think about how different this Christmas is from the ones we're used to? Melissa asked, her voice thoughtful. No snow, no rush to buy gifts, just us and this beautiful place. Tom smiled. It's different, but in the best way. It feels like we're celebrating what matters, time together, simple joys, and finding magic in the unexpected. As the afternoon faded into evening, the couple returned to Cruz Bay for a special event that Clara had recommended, a traditional Christmas choir performance in the town square. Locals and visitors alike had gathered, their faces lit by the soft glow of strings of lights and lanterns. The air buzzed with quiet anticipation as the choir, dressed in simple yet elegant outfits, took their places. The first notes of a familiar carol filled the square, the harmonies rich and resonant. Melissa leaned into Tom, her heart swelling as the music wrapped around them. But as the choir shifted into a Creole rendition of Silent Night, she felt tears well in her eyes. It's beautiful, she whispered. The way they blend the old and the new, it's like they've taken something familiar and made it even more special. Tom nodded, his own emotions visible in the softness of his expression. That's the magic of this place, he said. It doesn't erase what you know, it adds to it. As the final notes lingered in the air, the crowd erupted in warm applause. The choir bowed, their faces glowing with pride, and the square slowly came back to life with the sounds of conversation and laughter. Melissa and Tom stayed a little longer, sitting on a bench beneath a tree adorned with twinkling lights. They watched as children danced to the faint strains of music still playing in the background, their joy infectious. Every part of this trip has felt like it was made just for us, Melissa said, her voice low and content. I don't want it to end. Tom wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. We'll carry it with us, he said. Every memory, every moment, it'll be part of us forever. As they walked back to the inn, hand in hand, the quiet streets of Cruz Bay seemed to echo their own sense of peace. Back in their room, Melissa placed the small basket they'd bought on the nightstand beside the sea turtle ornament, a growing collection of treasures from their journey. Tom pulled the painting from its wrapping and propped it against the wall. Until we can hang it at home, he said, smiling. Melissa gazed at the image, its colors softened by the dim light of the room. It's perfect, she said softly. Just like today. With the sound of waves lapping at the shore and the faint hum of the town settling into sleep, they drifted off, the memory of the day blending seamlessly into their dreams. Chapter 6. The morning dawned with the same tranquil beauty that had greeted them every day on the islands. Tom and Melissa woke slowly, savoring the soft rustling of palm leaves outside their window and the golden light spilling over the room's wooden shutters. Today was their last full day in St. John, and they had planned something special, a visit to Keneal Bay, known for its pristine beaches and serene atmosphere. As they enjoyed breakfast at the inn, Clara had one last recommendation for them. Keneal Bay is more than just beautiful, she said. There's a quiet kind of magic there, especially at this time of year. Be sure to take your time and let the place speak to you. Melissa smiled, touched by Clara's words. That's exactly what we've been doing this whole trip, letting the magic find us. A short taxi ride brought them to Keneal Bay, where the pristine beach stretched out before them like a postcard come to life. The sand was soft and white, the water so clear it seemed almost unreal. A few scattered palm trees offered shade, their fronds swaying gently in the breeze. Tom carried their small bag with towels and snacks, while Melissa paused to take in the view. This might be the most beautiful place we've seen yet, she said, her voice hushed with awe. Tom set down the bag and took her hand. Then let's enjoy every second of it. They spread their towels under the shade of a palm tree, the peacefulness of the beach wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Melissa waded into the water first, letting the gentle waves lap at her ankles before diving in. The water was cool and refreshing, the perfect contrast to the sun's warmth. Tom followed, his laughter joining hers as they floated side by side, the world seeming to disappear. "It feels like time stops here," Melissa said, lying back in the water, her arms outstretched. "Just us and the ocean." Tom smiled, treading water nearby. "That's what I love about this place. It lets you breathe." After their swim, they returned to their spot on the beach, where a kind local had set up a small bonfire for an informal Christmas gathering. A few other visitors and locals joined, sharing laughter and stories as the fire crackled softly. Melissa and Tom introduced themselves and were soon part of the easy camaraderie. A woman named Lila, who appeared to be in her 70s but had the energy of someone much younger, handed them steaming cups of sorrel drink. "You can't leave the islands without tasting the real Christmas spirit," she said with a wink. Melissa took a sip, savoring the tangy, spiced flavor. "It's delicious." "What's in it?" "Hibiscus flowers, cinnamon, cloves, and a touch of ginger," Lila explained. "And, of course, a little rum if you're feeling festive." Tom raised his cup. "Here's to Christmas in paradise." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting the beach in golden hues, the group began singing carols. The familiar melodies took on a new life when accompanied by the rhythmic strumming of a guitar and the occasional beat of a hand drum. Melissa's voice joined in softly, her heart swelling with the warmth of the moment. "It's different, but it still feels like Christmas," she said to Tom. "Maybe even more so." He nodded, his arm resting around her shoulders. "It's simpler, but it's real. No rushing, no distractions, just people coming together." When the stars began to emerge, Lila handed them a small tin wrapped in bright cloth. "A little gift," she said. "Inside, you'll find my favorite Christmas treat, ginger coconut drops. Something to remember us by." Melissa accepted the tin with a grateful smile. "Thank you, Lila. This whole day has been unforgettable." The bonfire crackled softly as the group slowly dispersed, leaving the beach quiet and serene. Tom and Melissa lingered, the glow of the fire reflecting in the calm water. Melissa leaned against Tom, her head resting on his shoulder. "This trip has been everything I hoped for and more," she said softly. "I feel like we've found something here, not just in the place, but in us." Tom kissed the top of her head, his voice low and steady. "It's the kind of thing you carry with you, even when you leave." As the fire burned down to embers, they gathered their belongings and began the short walk back to their taxi. The cool night air was filled with the faint hum of crickets and the rhythmic sound of waves. Melissa paused for a moment, turning to look back at the beach one last time. "It feels like a little piece of heaven," she said. "Like the kind of place you never really leave, even when you go." Tom took her hand, his grip warm and reassuring. "Then let's keep it with us," he said. "Every bit of it." Back at their inn, they placed Lila's gift on the nightstand beside their sea turtle ornament and basket. Their collection of treasures from the trip was growing, each item carrying its own story. Melissa traced her fingers over the bright fabric wrapping the tin. "These are more than souvenirs," she said. "They're pieces of the island, pieces of this moment." Tom smiled as he climbed into bed. And they'll always bring us back here. The sound of waves outside lulled them into a peaceful silence. As Melissa drifted off, she whispered, "I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I know it'll be beautiful." Tom's voice was soft and steady. "It always is, here." Chapter 7. Tom awoke to the soft light of dawn streaming through the shutters and the scent of freshly brewed coffee wafting up from the inn's kitchen. Today was their final full day on the islands, and he was determined to make it one they would always remember. He glanced over at Melissa, still peacefully asleep, and smiled. He let her rest a little longer while he sipped his coffee on the balcony, watching the harbor come alive as fishing boats and ferries began their day. When Melissa stirred, she found him there, gazing out at the water. "Good morning," she said, her voice still hushed from sleep. She joined him, her hand finding his. "What are we going to do with our last day here?" Tom grinned. "I've got an idea." Clara mentioned a special dinner at one of the old plantations on St. Croix, a place where history and holiday magic come together. Melissa's eyes lit up. "That sounds perfect." After a quick breakfast, they took a ferry back to St. Croix, the sea sparkling like liquid gold under the morning sun. The gentle rocking of the boat and the rhythmic sound of the waves filled the journey with a calming peace, allowing them to soak in the beauty of their surroundings. They spent the afternoon exploring Christiansted, a town rich in history and charm. Its colorful colonial buildings stood as a reminder of the island's Danish past, their weathered shutters and intricate ironwork speaking to a bygone era. Tom and Melissa wandered the cobblestone streets, stopping to admire the small boutiques and art galleries that lined them. At one gallery, they met an artist named Samuel who specialized in painting scenes of island life. One of his works, a serene depiction of a Christmas Eve beach bonfire, caught Melissa's attention. "This feels like last night," she said, her voice soft. "The fire, the stars, the sense of togetherness." Samuel smiled. "That's what I try to capture, the feeling, not just the image. If it speaks to you, it's meant for you." They left the gallery with the painting carefully wrapped, a new treasure to add to their growing collection. "It'll be like bringing a little of the island's Christmas spirit home with us," Melissa said. As evening approached, they made their way to the plantation, a sprawling estate surrounded by rolling hills and lush greenery. The main house, illuminated by soft candlelight, stood as a testament to the island's history. Its grand wooden doors opened onto a terrace where tables had been elegantly set under the open sky. They were greeted by the host, a stately woman named Eleanor, who welcomed them warmly. "This plantation has seen centuries of Christmas celebrations," she said. "Tonight, we're continuing that tradition." Tom and Melissa were seated at a table near the edge of the terrace, where they had a stunning view of the surrounding landscape. The evening air was cool and fragrant, carrying the faint scent of blooming flowers. A soft hum of conversation and the gentle notes of a string quartet filled the space. The meal was a feast of island flavors: tender roast pork glazed with guava, buttery fungi served alongside fresh-caught fish, and a dessert of rum-soaked black cake. Each dish was paired with expertly chosen wines and cocktails, including a smooth Cruzan rum punch that Melissa declared her favorite. As they dined, Eleanor shared stories about the plantation's history, including how its workers had once celebrated the holidays with music, dancing, and special meals prepared from the fruits of their labor. "Christmas here has always been about community," Eleanor said. "About gathering to share joy, no matter how simple or grand the means. Melissa nodded, her heart full. That's what we felt during this trip, the warmth of the people, the sense of togetherness. It's been the most meaningful Christmas we've had in years. After dinner, the evening continued with a surprise performance by a local choir. Their voices rose in harmony, filling the night with a blend of traditional carols and Caribbean holiday songs. Tom and Melissa held hands as the music washed over them, the moment feeling timeless and magical. When the performance ended, Eleanor invited everyone to gather around a massive Christmas tree in the center of the terrace. Ornaments made of shells and driftwood adorned its branches, and its base was wrapped with strands of twinkling lights. Guests were encouraged to add a small ornament or ribbon as a token of their visit. Melissa tied a red ribbon to one of the branches, her smile tender. "Now we're part of the story here," she said. Tom wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her close. "And it's a story we'll never forget." The night ended with the lighting of paper lanterns, which floated gently into the sky, their warm glow fading into the distance. Melissa and Tom watched, their hearts full, before making their way back to their room for their final night on the islands. As they lay in bed, the sound of the waves mingling with the memories of the evening, Melissa turned to Tom. "This trip has been everything I hoped for and more. I feel like we've found something here, something that's not about gifts or decorations, but about the heart of Christmas." Tom smiled, his voice low and steady. "And we'll carry that with us, no matter where we go." With the moonlight streaming through the shutters and the quiet peace of the night surrounding them, they drifted off, holding each other close, ready to treasure their last morning in paradise. Chapter 8. The soft glow of dawn crept into the room, gently rousing Tom and Melissa on their final morning in the Virgin Islands. For a moment, neither of them spoke, content to savor the stillness, the rhythmic sound of waves, and the faint rustling of palm trees outside. Melissa turned to Tom, her head resting on his shoulder. "Do we really have to leave today?" she asked softly. Tom kissed the top of her head. "We do, but maybe that's what makes it so special. Knowing we can come back someday." After a quiet breakfast on the balcony, where the sunlight sparkled on the harbor, they took one last walk through Charlotte Amalie. The streets were just beginning to stir with life, shopkeepers sweeping their thresholds and vendors setting up colorful displays. The festive decorations from their first day still adorned the town, giving it a timeless holiday feel. Melissa stopped by a small cafe they had passed earlier in their trip but hadn't visited. "Let's get one last coffee," she said. The cafe was charming, its interior lined with wooden shelves stacked with jars of spices, teas, and local coffee beans. As they waited for their drinks, the barista, a young man with a bright smile, handed Melissa a small packet. "For you," he said. "A little Christmas gift, some of our special blend to take home." Melissa's eyes lit up. "Thank you. It'll be the perfect way to remember this trip." From the cafe, they strolled to the waterfront, where the boats bobbed lazily in the sun-dappled water. Tom pointed to the sea turtle ornament they had bought, now nestled safely in his bag. "Do you think it'll look good on our tree?" Melissa laughed. "It'll look perfect. Every time we see it, we'll think of this." Their last stop before heading to the airport was a small hill overlooking the town. It was a spot they had passed earlier in the week, but now it felt like the perfect place to reflect. The view was breathtaking, with the town's pastel buildings spread out below, the harbor stretching into the horizon, and the endless blue of the Caribbean beyond. "This is where I'd like to picture us someday," Melissa said, her voice wistful. "Coming back here, sitting on this hill, and remembering everything we felt this week." Tom took her hand, his gaze steady. "We will. And until then, we'll carry it with us." The journey to the airport was quiet but not sad. The taxi driver chatted warmly about his favorite Christmas traditions on the island, and Tom and Melissa listened with smiles, soaking up the last moments of the island's warmth and hospitality. At the airport, they browsed a small gift shop for last-minute treasures. Melissa found a book of local recipes, while Tom picked up a postcard depicting the glowing waters of a bioluminescent bay. "For the fridge," he said. "So we always have a little piece of this place at home." As they boarded the plane, Melissa looked out the window, watching the island grow smaller in the distance. "I'm not ready to say goodbye," she admitted. Tom reached for her hand. "We're not saying goodbye," he said gently. "We're just saying, see you again." The flight was smooth, the memories of their trip playing in their minds like a favorite song. Melissa flipped through the photos on her phone, images of the boat parade, the glowing bay, the handmade ornaments, and the smiling faces of the people they had met. Each one brought a fresh wave of warmth. By the time they landed back home, the sun had set, and a chill hung in the air. As they stepped into their house, Melissa set their bags aside and turned to Tom. "Let's unpack tomorrow," she said. "For now, let's just enjoy being back." Tom nodded and headed to the kitchen to brew the coffee they had brought back from the cafe. Melissa placed the sea turtle ornament on the tree, its shimmering colors catching the soft glow of the Christmas lights. She unwrapped the painting of the beach bonfire and set it on the mantel, where it instantly transformed the room. When Tom returned with 2 steaming mugs, they sat on the couch together, their hands entwined and their hearts full. The scent of the island coffee filled the air, blending with the warmth of their home. "Do you think we'll ever have a Christmas like that again?" Melissa asked, her voice soft. Tom smiled. "Maybe not exactly like that," he said. "But I think the spirit of it will always be with us." Melissa leaned against him, her eyes drifting to the tree and the little sea turtle nestled among its branches. "I think so too," she said. "It's not just a memory, it's part of us now." The night was quiet, the house filled with the peaceful stillness that comes after a journey well traveled. As Tom and Melissa sat together, the warmth of their time in the Virgin Islands wrapped around them like a favorite blanket, bringing with it the calm and joy they had sought and found. As the lights of the tree flickered softly, Melissa closed her eyes, a contented smile on her face. "Merry Christmas, Tom," she whispered. Tom kissed her forehead, his voice low and steady. "Merry Christmas, Melissa." And with the quiet hum of the season surrounding them, they drifted into sleep, carrying the magic of the islands with them, now and always. The end.